Hello there, everyone. It's Trains, Planes, and Nature of New York. I thought of making a new series, and I did, and it's called Engines and Rolling Stock of Metro North. In this series, I will be talking about the engines and all the EMUs and other rolling stock that Metro North owns. So the first episode is about the P32AC-DM, General Electric P32AC-DM, and I'll be talking about that in this video. So let's get started. In the early 90s, Amtrak's F40PHs were going strong, but however, they were starting to age, and they were in need of replacement. Amtrak awarded General Electric a contract to design a new locomotive to replace the F40PH. Now, unfortunately, the locomotive was delayed, but nevertheless, it entered service in 1993, and that locomotive is the AMD-103, or as what we call today, the P40DC. However, on Amtrak's Empire Corridor, the EMD FL9 was used on both Amtrak and Metro North. The FL9s entered service in 1956, with the New Haven Railroad being its first operator. On both railroads, the EMD FL9 was becoming a nightmare to deal with, since it needed constant maintenance and repairing. This was because they were starting to age and they were already 50 years old and badly needed replacement. While GE was working on the P40, Amtrak and Metro North were interested in a locomotive similar to the P40. Now, they needed to purchase a similar special locomotive to the P40 because the EMD FL9 was dual mode. Now, the EMD FL9 was able to operate off its own diesel prime mover and third rail. The major New York City terminals, like Grand Central and Penn Station, had a restriction where diesel engines cannot be allowed. So therefore, Amtrak and Metro North used dual-mode locomotives. Amtrak and Metro North were in desperate need of a replacement locomotive for the FL9. Unfortunately, though, around that time, there were no other diesel locomotives that were able to be operated in dual mode. So they were stuck with the FL9 until the GE P32AC-DM was released. The P32AC-DM is in a Genesis series of locomotives. However, it does differ from the P40 and the P42. The P32 only had 3,200 horsepower, which is 800 less from the P40 and 1,050 less than the P42. It also uses AC traction motors instead of DC traction motors, unlike the P40 and P42. The locomotive also has an escape hatch in the nose of the locomotive, and even though it was built around the same time as the P40 and has less horsepower, its max speed was 110 miles per hour. However, when operating on third rail territory, the locomotive is restricted to 60 miles an hour. The locomotive also does not have a door on the back of the locomotive, meaning that there was no access to a trailing engine or the first car of an Amtrak Empire service train, or any train whatsoever. Now on to the technical specifications. The P32AC-DM has a P, which means passenger, 32 meaning 3,200 horsepower, AC meaning alternating current traction motors, and the DM meaning dual mode. The locomotives have K5LA horns. Amtrak and Metro North locomotives used to differ, with Metro North having the escape hatches on the nose, while Amtrak did not have the escape hatches on the nose. This later changed, though, and I'll explain why. However, due to the Grand Central reroute in the summer of 2018, escape hatches have been cut into the entire fleet of Amtrak P32s. As of today, all Amtrak P32s have escape hatches on the nose. The reason being is that the two tunnels in to Grand Central were too narrow for crews to open the side door. So if there was any emergency where the engineer had to leave the locomotive, this meant that the engines had to have escape hatches on them. Metro North started receiving the first of their fleet in 1995, and they received their last P32 in 1998. The locomotives were originally painted when they first came out in a gray and blue scheme, which looks something like what's on the screen, and they were slowly rebuilt and repainted into the newer scheme that we have today. The 4 P32s are painted in the McGinnis scheme, which is a heritage version of the New Haven Railroad paint scheme, which was used in the FL9s. Locomotives 228, 229, 230, and my personal favorite, 231, wore this paint scheme. If you look really closely on the sides of New Haven 230, you'll find a Penn Central sticker vandalized on the side of the cab. While I think this sticker is a pretty cool feature, I also think the sticker is very controversial, because why have the sticker of a bad railroad into the paint scheme of a good railroad? I don't get it. Metro-North also released 4 heritage units for their 40th anniversary program. The first one is Metro-North 208, which is painted a beach ball livery to honor the old beach ball scheme that the FL9s used to wear. Metro-North 201 is the Conrail heritage unit, which got released back in August. It has a yellow front on it, which represents the scheme that the Conrail FL9s used to wear. Metro-North 211 was released in November of 2023, and this is by far my personal favorite. This scheme honors the New York Central Railroad, and I gotta say, it's a pretty beautiful looking heritage unit right there. And now Penn Central 217 got released last month, and it looks fresh right now. It's painted in the Penn Central scheme with the yellow front on it, and it looks very similar to the Conrail paint scheme that Conrail 201 has, because it's the same thing. Metro-North also issued a rebuild program, which meant to rebuild all of the locomotives and make them to the standard in which they are today. However, on a cold December morning, Metro-North Express 8808 from Poughkeepsie to Grand Central was passing Riverdale, and then its next passing stop was Spuyten Duyvil. The engineer was going too fast on the train, and then he reached a curve, which was restricted to 30 miles an hour. The engineer was going almost 3 times that. Unfortunately, the whole train derailed, and Metro-North 225 had to be sent in for rebuilds. 225 was damaged because of the derailment, but it was rebuilt, and it entered service. It continues to run to this day. Metro-North locomotive 222 has also derailed in the Croton-Harmon shops on December 4th of 2021. It continues to sit in the Croton-Harmon shops as of this day, remaining out of service, and its fate is well unknown. Some people say it's a parts unit for other locomotives. Despite these crashes, the P32AC-DMs continue to push on in their life, continuing to run to this day, where me and many other rail fans continue to record these awesome dual-mode locomotives. The Metro-North and Amtrak P32AC-DMs can only be found in New York, since they are dual-mode, and some P32s are also some Amtrak P32s are also found in Vermont on the Ethan Allen Express trains to and from Burlington. And on a few rare occasions, there have been P32s up in Canada. Metro-North uses the P32AC-DMs from Grand Central to Poughkeepsie, making stops at Tarrytown, Ossining, Croton-Harmon, Cortland, Peekskill, Garrison, Cold Spring, Beacon, New Hamburg, and Poughkeepsie. Some P32s can be operating on shuttles, such as the Waterbury, Danbury, and Wassaic branches. This mostly happens during the weekdays, though, and the P32AC-DM is one of only 3 dual-mode locomotives in the U.S., that being the Long Island Railroad DM30AC, which runs on both third rail and diesel, and the New Jersey Transit ALP45 DP, which runs on diesel power and overhead catenary wires. The P32AC-DM is a locomotive that serves a niche market in New York City. Their fate is unknown, as these locomotives have been operating for almost 30 years. Metro-North has ordered Siemens SC42-DM locomotives, which are a dual-mode version of the ALC42. However, these locomotives are not expected to begin revenue service until 2026 or 2027, so we still have time to catch these P32s while we can. Siemens has built their first Metro-North SC42, number 301, which sits in the Siemens Mobility plant in California. Thanks for watching, everyone. If I made any mistakes in this episode, please let me know down in the comments. If you would like to choose what engine will be done in the next episode, I'll be making a poll on my community post later today, so you guys can choose. between what engine I should do next. And the one that gets the most votes is the engine that I will be doing next. If you'd like to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode.